Hi, this is Dan Sullivan. I'd like to welcome you to the Multiplier Mindset Podcast. Today's Free Zone transformational story comes from Tom Moore, and Tom lives in Edmonton, Alberta, and he's in financial services. And at the time that we interviewed him, he's been in Strategic Coach for 15 years. One aspect that Tom really puts enormous emphasis on is probably the toughest thing for people who are thinking about coming into Strategic Coach or have heard about Strategic Coach can really wrap their minds around, and that is just how much free time our entrepreneurs in Coach actually take every year, and it keeps getting better and better, while doubling, tripling, in some cases 10 timesing their revenues and their profits. It just seems like this defies the laws of gravity. This defies the laws of entrepreneurial gravity. I think Tom really explains it well in his statements with us, sharing his experience, that he first of all told the truth about the fact that his life was out of balance. And so it wasn't the number of free days he was going to take. It was simply that he would take any free time at all. And, he had made great commitments, and we all do if we're married to our life partner. We make commitments to our children and, everything that goes along with your personal life. But to say a commitment but not have the way you manage time actually back up your verbal commitment really produces nothing but trouble, and it produces a lot of pain. It actually produces a lot of failure in life. So, I was kind of taken aback because I thought I was a real champ with my 155 days, but Tom takes 178 days off. That was his achievement last year, and he had his all-time revenues and profits. So how do you do that? Well, it's in the process of Coach, because we think long, and my recommendation, think in terms of 25 years, and then see the 25 years as 190-day periods. And really, the only thing you really have to pay attention to are improvements, making things bigger, making things better in the next 90 days, and then be willing to come back and measure your progress against your goals, and then listen to all the progress that other entrepreneurs have made in the group. And then there's new concepts. And all the concepts are for expanding your freedom. And the number one freedom in Coach is freedom of time. So Tom went after that immediately. And what he found is when he expanded his freedom of time, especially personal time, two things happened. His use of time actually working improved enormously, and out of that, his revenues and profits. So most entrepreneurs get it totally backwards. They say, well, I'll be working 7 days a week, and I'll work every day of the year until I get enough money that I can take time off. But think about that. None of their habits are supporting ever taking even a day off, because they've given themselves permission to work every day of the year. Even if it's scheduled as a free day and some business opportunity comes up or some business deadline comes up, their habits will encourage them to work, not take the free time. And I just am so gratified that Tom shared his message with us about free time.
So my name is Tom Moore. I own and operate a financial services business out of Edmonton, and I've been a participant in Strategic Coach for over 15 years. It forces me to remove myself from my business in a day-to-day way to come to Coach, and it gives me an opportunity to think and plan and strategize on the business rather than, when you're working in the business. So for me, that's a very helpful thing. The second thing is the network of other like-minded entrepreneurs in the class. The ability to tap into other people who have a wide variety of experiences as entrepreneurs is invaluable. Numerous times in my 15 years, I've come to Coach with a problem or an issue that I need to resolve. And by the end of the day, by talking to people in the class, whether it's at the break or during a session, I inevitably come away with 5 or 6 different ways of dealing with the problem or whatever, which I would have never probably been able to come up with myself. So, and then the last thing is my business has grown tenfold during that time. And I've done it in a way where I've also increased my free time, or my free days as we refer to it in the coach, to the point where, for example, last year I had I think it was 178 free days, and last year was our best year ever in terms of revenue, profitability, and so on in the business. So it's just hard for me to imagine accomplishing those kind of results without the benefit of the wisdom of the coach, I would say. It obviously didn't happen overnight. And just for clarity, not all 178 days are vacation days, but it's days away from the business, right? So how is that possible? If you asked me 15 years ago, I would have told you it was impossible. But honestly, it's just taking the courage, making the investment, and getting serious about taking time off so you can recharge and rejuvenate, and having trust and faith that your mind needs to be relaxed so that when you do go back to your business, I think you're much more productive because you're relaxed and you're able to do more when you're not exhausted all the time. And before I joined the coach, I had a very busy life, a very busy business, but I was exhausted all the time. And so I think for me, the whole lesson of trusting that you really do need to take the time off for you and your mind and your health. And then when you are at work, you're more productive than you otherwise would be. I'm very fortunate that I'm able to travel extensively every year. It's something I always wanted to do, never thought I would. I'm also spending more time with the kids, and we have grandchildren now. And so the ability to focus my energies on other interests and other initiatives, some athletic things that I've always wanted to do or improve on, like, golf and whatever, I'm able to do those and have been for the last, 10, 12 years. So it just gives me great energy and excitement about life ahead, because there's, hopefully much more things to do, and I'll be able to do it because the business is there and the time is there, and so I don't feel like I'm, going to run out of money or run out of time. I feel very fortunate that I'm in a place like that. So I suppose the one-on-one coaching would, I guess it would feel more one-on-one and more personal, I suppose. But I think where I would, in reflecting on that, where I would have lost out is the diversity of ideas and experience from other industries has been invaluable. Because, if you're in the industry that we're in, you can be myopic. You think it only works this way, and all it takes is somebody from the outside with experience looking in and saying, "Oh, have you thought of this?" or "You should try that." And it just is a completely brand new idea for the industry or the problem. So I think you'd miss out on that piece. And then the other thing is just the relationships that many of the other coach participants in my class have become friends and people that on a number of occasions we get together for social engagements. We've met each other's significant others and families. We've vacationed with a few, and that is just the coolest thing. So the personal relationships that I've built in this coaching class that I'm in have really expanded my personal connections as much as my business connections. You can't replace that. So just this morning there was a conversation going on. The content doesn't matter, but I remember just reflecting amongst myself and saying, I couldn't imagine there are people in my family and in my life that I know if they were in this room, they wouldn't believe it. They wouldn't even understand how is it possible that these kind of conversations were happening, and it was just something I reflected on just this morning. So anyway, it speaks to the fact that a lot of us have developed relationships, long-term relationships with most of the people in the room. And so sometimes that humor is really only funny if you know where it's coming from, right? But yeah, it in some ways feels very informal, very relaxed, but at the same time very enriching, at least, speaking personally. So when I first joined the coach, I had little or no balance in my life. And it really goes back to the free time or the free days that I alluded to earlier, from the point of view that when I was honest with myself and I really looked over the span of the previous year prior to entering the coach, how many free days did I really have? Like really 24-hour periods of time where I wasn't working in some way on my business. And when I honestly looked at that, that might have been, a couple of days a month. So I realized that I had a very imbalanced life. Too much work, not enough life, not enough time for me personally. And I knew that that wasn't going to be a recipe for long-term success, especially personal and health and family and all that. So that was a big challenge for me. So to be able to really focus and say, okay, I'm going to set next Sunday or next Saturday as a free day and really force myself, not to check my work emails, not to, listen to voicemails, not go in the office, really force myself to do that. And little by little, I was able to start to take real days off, and I could start to see the benefits early. And the wisdom I would say is you really have to give yourself that break because it will pay off. From 2 days a month, say, to 178 last year, there's a big leap there. So it's invaluable. In our business, our clients are very perceptive. They're very intelligent people, and they can sense when your mind is maybe not really paying attention to them. They can see when you're tired or appear to be burnt out or whatever. They're very perceptive, very intuitive people. And so when you show up ready for them to be no place else but there, overly engaged, really genuinely excited to see them. And when they're in a meeting with you, they get a sense that there is nobody in our advisor's life at the moment more important than us, right? And if you're able to show up like that, that I'm sure speaks volumes for how they feel the relationship is. And they feel like they've made a good choice, hopefully, in terms of who they've hired to be their financial advisor. So I can't honestly say that I've had that conversation, but that's the sense I get. So we have a very, very nice practice. We have wonderful client relationships. And part of that, I'm sure, has to do with my ability to be present for them, fully engaged every time I see them. And I couldn't do it if my life was like it was prior to starting coach and really paying attention to those free days. I would say, don't procrastinate. If you're thinking about coach, dive in, commit to becoming a part of the community. And I just hope that anybody who does gets the same or more value out of it than I have. It's been one of the best decisions I've made in my business and personal life over my entire life, I would say.
If you ask Tom, he'd say, all I did was follow the rules. All I did was put the concepts in place of strategic coach, but I came back every 90 days for 15 years and look at how I'm living right now. And it hasn't been like it was all hardship up until now. It started to improve the moment he came to his first workshop in his first year, and every quarter that he's come back, it's improved. So that's really the key to strategic coach. It's that you have a system where every quarter increases your freedom of time, money, relationship, and purpose. And he could not believe, looking back when he started, that he'd be where he is today, but it's actually been a result of 15 years worth, 60, 90-day checkups of his progress. And every time he checked up, he saw what he had achieved, and then he set the goal for new, actually achievable goals for the next 90 days, and then is operating in the strategic coach community where all the team members at Coach and all the clients in Coach totally applaud you for the progress that you're making, because that's the kind of progress they all want to make.